What's up, everybody? Back again, Warp Charge Gaming. It is Monday. I about said Thursday. I think it's episode 6 of our Tabletop Alchemy 3D Printing Rants and Rave talk show. I got James with me.
Yo, yo, yo.
I'm George. We are officially Warp Charge Gaming, and Tabletop Alchemy is our 3D printing auxiliary company that we're very proud to be in sponsorship and partnership with Battlegrounds, our local gaming store. And this is actually my local gaming store. If you don't know, James in Illinois and I'm in Richmond, Virginia.
I'm in the frozen tundra, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, all of our snow has already melted. It's insane. I don't understand the weather here.
Yeah, it's a really nice day here too, after being kind of crazy freak cold. But yeah, we are. This is actually the first episode, and you guys might not be able to tell because I'm in outer space. First episode being in outer space, and because we are in Battlegrounds, we are in the game store. We have put our home base in our shop here. This is where Tabletop Alchemy was birthed, if you will. Actually, it was kind of birthed at James' house. He started the whole process.
Dude, it was birthed by the want and need to print stuff.
Yes. Well, you saw the light, and after
I did see the light.
Yeah, after you printed some shit, like, James and I joke, particularly James, the more you get into 3D printing, the more you just become a spokesperson of its wonders and joy that it brings.
Yeah, it's a household object. Like, everyone else hasn't picked up on that yet.
It's like you got a microwave, you got a fridge, you got your 3D printer. Like,
yes.
I used to be more ready to jump on that train with everyone and their dog. I'm kind of a mixed bag of emotions of happy and sad that it's actually not as easy as it might seem.
Dude, the technology isn't there yet for it to be easy as it seems. But yeah, I understand the frustrations. I recently had my own frustrations, as we know, but I'm printing super good. Where I was telling George earlier, and he said he was jealous, and I was like, I'm jealous of my own printer because it wasn't printing this good before. What up, Chicken Bone? What up, Jake?
Oh, nice. Got the homies in here. Hey, guys. How's it going? Yeah. We're just another episode about 3D printing, y'all, and we're going to see how much we can fill it with. Honestly, I know my head is really filled with actually more wargaming information right now. I can't wait for the Thursday show because I plan to – there's so much cool stuff to talk about. But we're going to try to stay on topic and keep it 3D printer related. Lord knows if we didn't have this show, then we would overwhelm our Thursday night show with 3D printing talk. Chicken Bo says, Buddy just got a 3D printer and asked if there was anything I needed printed. Where can I obtain the STL files for wash pot holders and terrain y'all show off? Okay. All right. Well, that's a great question, Chicken Bo. So a lot of the terrain we show is actually by Worlds Overrun. And in order to... We definitely want to give them props. You can definitely get their STL files yourself and print them on if you have a 3D printer.
Yes, and they actually have a Kickstarter going on right now.
Yeah, new Kickstarter, huh? We got Inferno released.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got to check out all the files myself. I should have been more prepped with that. That's exciting because that's like their 5th Kickstarter now. They did Epic Creatures, they did Strata, they did Grove, Scorch, Thorn. All of these are different worlds that you can basically, transform your table into an immersive experience into the worlds that Eric from Worlds Overrun created. So just type in Worlds Overrun Kickstarters. You'll see the 5 different options out there, and you can invest into those STL files and print at your heart's content. Or Tabletop Alchemy is actually licensed to print and sell their items as well. We can do that for you too.
Yeah, and then for the wash pot holders, we were going to be giving those away to our Patreons and all of our homies. So just give us an email and I'll hook you up with that, Chicken Bone, since you've been with us from the beginning. And then as far as the bill...
Oh, no. James left the call. He's right in the middle of saying some good information and he's just gone. Well, until he comes back. Yes, hook us up at admin@warpchargegaming.com, Chicken Bone. You know the drill. We got you situated before. We were getting ready to go live with the Patreon, and we will be ready to hook you guys up with some sweet 3D printed items if you want to go that route with us. James, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, but like browser just closed.
Yeah,
Let it reopen it.
silly bug. But also, you know what you might be looking for, chicken bone, that is really the God's gift is Thingiverse. If you don't know about Thingiverse, go to thingiverse.com and you can search anything you want. Type in paint holder, type in movement trays, whatever, and you'll find a ton of stuff that you can print out. Some of it even commercially able to be resold and printed by us. So yeah, and you know, speaking of things like that, nice, yeah, chicken bone stoked. You got the information. You know, things like the paint holders and the terrain. I want to definitely hit on this episode just about the value of 3D printing with wargaming. You know, I've done a lot of YouTube watching lately, James, on 3D printing.
Yes,
out of necessity. It is interesting that you find a lot of cosplayers. So a lot of cosplayers are into 3D printing. A lot of car parts and just like people that are into things for their shop. You know, not necessarily car parts, but components for machines. You know.
Yeah, a lot of our drone flyers, print stuff off, and then dads like to print stuff off.
Right. I was reading on one Reddit that this guy, he had a printer and had done all these upgrades, but he had never even printed something just because he liked to tinker with stuff. I was like, damn, I'm not that person. But yeah, I've watched a lot of YouTube lately, and there's not a lot of folks that talk about the value of 3D printing with tabletop wargaming, and that is definitely what took us over the top with the obsession, I would say.
Yeah. Without that, I would not be nearly into it. I would maybe only own one printer then.
Right. But yeah,
instead of want a fleet of them.
Yeah, because I mean, as a miniature wargamer, we already are used to investing in a lot of plastic and different items. Hell, whether it's a special 9-inch ruler so you can do your deep strikes easier, or a tray to display your stuff. There's always been little odds and ends that you buy as a wargamer, and you can really reduce that need, and also you can get stuff you wouldn't be able to get otherwise. Like for instance, check out these D6 dice holders that we found. You can get these on Thingiverse. These are also something we can print and sell to you. There's the Warp Charge Gaming dice, also available on warpchargegaming.com if you want to roll some of our sexy D6s. But look, D20 holder, D6 holders, great for command points, just keeping tally of wounds on models. In Magic, you have to have a wound total or a life counter. These little things are great for the hobby so your dice don't roll away or get mixed up with other stuff. And just super simple little things that I've never seen that in any place ever to buy,
Dude, those are my favorite wound counters. I've used lots of things for wound counters. And just having the dice with the arrow is so nice.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We got Lou Bangs up in here. We got Jake Stewart. Lou Bangs says, "What's up? It's good to see you again, Lou." Jake says, question, watch one of your battle reports, something with your tray size being off. How hard is it to change the print when you're sizing down from a small flat print? So how hard is it to change the print when so yeah, there's one movement tray. James was customizing movement trays. I actually think I have an image of it. And it's in between being a little too big for a 25 mil and a little too small for a 32 mil. The models sit within it okay. But here's an image right here. It's the pink horrors in the middle there. The cool thing about these trays that was a part of the design is that James made it so that they fit together. So when they're side by side, they can seamlessly go right next to each other. But yeah, these guys are a little too out of size. Now you can scale in your slicing software. We're using just simply Cura, which is just a free program that comes with the for anybody. But that's not going to let you change the original design to necessarily fit a model with a perfect mathematical equation. And that's kind of been our struggle, right, James? I mean, we got you've definitely been able to design some great pieces when it comes to simple geometry and also even things with curves and whatnot. But it's mainly things when you get into mathematics and physics of a piece.
Because it's just a lot of math, figuring out your radiuses of things. Because the one thing you have to account for is your tolerance to your printer. So, if you have something that's 25 millimeter base, and you make the hole 25 millimeters, it won't go inside of it because of the tolerance of the printer. So it ends up being a situation where it's just a tiny bit too small of a hole. So then you make it a little bit bigger, and then you go maybe too big, because you're based off of like partial millimeters. So it kind of comes down to figuring all that out. And I just do a lot of this stuff on the fly. Yeah. So like we'll just print it or something, and then we'll just go from there because it works.
You know, another interesting thing too is that then once you, even if you make a file that is pretty much ready to go, someone can still have the incorrect settings in their slicer that can make it print inappropriately. Like I know that I like those. We have 25 mil to 32 mil base converters, and I think when I put the wall thickness to 1.5, it made it so that it was too thick to actually fit the 25 mil base inside of. But at like 0.8, it fit perfect. For example, you can definitely slice it so it doesn't operate. Not something 3D printed, but it was something cool James just showed. But we're falling off track, James. We already had somebody asking about. We're gonna go off. Okay. I love those though. Cool. Thank you. Yeah. Right on. We gotta be careful with the 40K stuff. James got a lot of cool projects, and it's mainly not 3D printed related.
Well, it was just like sitting underneath the camera, and I just wanted to like play with it.
Yeah, totally. Oh, here's another cool piece. This is a Magic the Gathering life token counter. I guess it's from a piece of lore within the gaming system, and people. It's pretty cool. It's like a top. I really enjoyed printing that piece because it was just neat how the physics were. No supports required. It's all multi-part that all comes together like pretty flawlessly, and it printed this like thin rectangle on the inside so that it has like a snap to it as you rotate the life counter. It's pretty impressive. Yeah,
that is impressive. I love those type of things.
Yeah, the design side is wacky and wild inflatable arm men, and I've left that up to James so far. I can barely get my damn printers to print right now, let alone design something. So thank God for James.
and since his printer's been down, I've just been making a bag of these.
Look at that! Oh, that's beautiful. They look really nice.
Oh, they're like, dude. If anyone had some of your previous ones and they see these, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, those look fucking butter, dude. Oh, I want my printer to print like that.
Oh, James, it's printing so good right now.
So like, James, we missed you last week. I had to hold it down.
Yeah, unfortunately, man, we had a storm that like just delayed everything.
Yeah, Chicken Bones crack laughing at me because I'm calling it this magical lore thing. Yeah, the Sensei's divining tool. But anyway, so James, tell us how you had struggles with your printer and what you did to overcome them, how you think you achieved such great results that you're kicking with now.
Okay, so the very first thing when I got the printer, I watched a lot of videos on assembly. So like I knew a lot of the little tricks of like tightening things up so that everything was tight to like begin with, because they kind of just fit all these things together and they don't necessarily make sure everything's level and tight. So I went through and did all that before I even started printing. But I had a hell of a time getting my first bed level because it's just getting all four axis, or not four axis, but like the four corners with their each springs, like turning them to getting them right. So I thought it was a problem with the mirror, or not the mirror, but the glass. Mm-hmm. So I actually ended up using a lot of things to shimmy the glass. I got it good at one point and then it got off. And I found myself like trying to level it every single time I printed. And then I flipped over the glass and never had that problem again. It was kind of crazy. Like that was the very first like problem to fix. And it was the simplest thing of just flipping over the glass because one side was warped and the other side wasn't.
Did you find that were they both equally smooth? Did you just get like a clear piece of glass with your CR10?
Yeah, just a super clear piece of glass that'd be on like a picture frame.
Okay. Yeah, whatever. Mine came with like a black piece of glass, and one side has a kind of a rough side to it.
Yeah, you get the upgraded print surface glass. Mm-hmm. So that's supposed to make your job a little bit easier. But that was my first like hurdle. After that, my next hurdle was the extruder. No, I actually had a clog before that, but that was simple. I just had to change out the tip.
For me, it's been. I'm surprised you didn't go right to adhesion. I mean, that's for. I find once I found kind of the bed leveling to a decent place, I found that the adhesion part was it still drives me crazy.
Well, the thing about the adhesion is I knew that a lot of people were using glue sticks to like get it to adhere. And since I have this giant gallon of PVA glue for hobbying, like putting down flock and like using it to coat foam before I use any type of spray paint type primers or anything like that. So I kind of know the properties of PVA. So I knew just water down with some alcohol and I can wipe the bed. And it was just a matter of finding the ratio. But it wasn't very hard. I got adhesion kind of like right away. And then when it didn't like stick, I was like, oh, I need to put a little bit more. And that was it.
Yeah. So like when you're printing, I've seen you do it before as an example, but like tell us about your process with when you go to put it down. Do you have like, you clean it every time? Do you put like straight like puddles of glue down for it to print through?
Okay. So I make a mixture that is PVA glue and like your school glue bottle, and fill it about halfway with straight PVA, but I fill the other half with a 50-50 of 91% isopropyl alcohol and water. So like that's my other half. And then I just mix it together. So it becomes like a milky consistency. And I just clean the bed with water and alcohol, make sure all the residue's off of it. I take that same paper towel that I use to clean off the bed, I fold it inside and out, and then it's just kind of damp. I take this mixture, cover it, and then I just wipe the bed. And that's literally all I do. Very simple for me.
Yeah, I've not been able to have such clean results. Like when I try to, it seems like cleaning the bed off afterwards is like a laborious thing. Like, do you take your glass off and like rub it down that way, or do you rub it down right on the bed?
I rub it down right on the bed, or right on the glass of the bed.
Yeah.
And then I just wipe it off the glass, and I don't even have a problem with bed leveling afterwards.
Are you decent? Are you decent at cooking, James? Are you a good cook?
I believe so.
Yeah, I suck at cooking. I wonder if this is a correlation.
I'm really shitty at doing dishes, though.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm not bad at doing dishes, I guess, but I suck in the kitchen, and I feel the sense of like I'm prepping like almost like a meal or something, and I always feel like a Neanderthal a little bit, you know. Instead of getting like the right knife, I'm like chopping like a freak. And so
dude, no, I make sure you use the right knife for things.
Yeah, I think this is like a correlation between my adhesion problem, because I always feel like I'm making a big mess and I'm doing everything wrong when I'm doing it.
That's awful. But they do sell different like adhesion paste that you can buy that are already pre-mixed that give you instructions on how to do it. But
I need something.
I really thought this was Neanderthal proof on that one.
I need something more dummy proof, dude. Like I am just like trying to skirt my way through life here right now. I just need everything to happen nice and smooth, and it is not happening easily. Let me tell you.
That's hilarious to me.
You shouldn't live so damn far away, James.
I'm sorry, man. It's not my fault.
Help me. Help me.
Because if it was like my fault, I'd still be in Washington, maybe even further away.
Gross.
Well,
all right. Well, let's continue. So you got adhesion figured out pretty easy.
Yeah, that was easy for me. Figured out the leveling. A lot of people do the field test. I have this wonderful sheet of paper that I've been using for months. I actually saved this thing because it's the thickness of this paper is thicker than what's in my printer, and I'm not sure where I got this piece of paper from, but it's a little bit thicker, so it works actually better for like a gauge for finding my level. Because what they say is you put this underneath the nozzle, you get to the bed leveling points, and you're supposed to be 0.2 millimeters away from the bed, and when it gets there, you're supposed to move your paper back and forth so it just gently scrapes against the nozzle, so that you feel the resistance, but it doesn't like stop you from pushing it. Like if it stops from pushing, it's too tight. If you don't feel any of that like resistance, it's too loose. So you're supposed to get it to that nice feel, and you actually get a real feel for it, like muscle memory. And you just want all of your 5 points, the 4 corners in the center to be like that, and that's how you're level. But this piece of paper compared to what's in my printer, like my actual like paper printer, is completely different. So I wish I knew the weight of this, but you can get feeler gauges, which George has, that are actually tells you the thickness of the metal, so you can get exactly 0.2 millimeters, and you can use those to feel. So after I got all that, I eventually had a clog in my nozzle. That happens from being lazy. When you're done printing something, you really want to catch it so that before it cools down, you pull the filament out of it. Because what will end up happening is the plastic cools down inside of it. And yeah, it's going to reheat back up, but sometimes it doesn't get enough even heating because it was already in there, and it like will clog a certain area. It just kind of gets a buildup, and it doesn't allow that nice fresh stuff to flow through. And sometimes it does flow through, and sometimes it doesn't. But I had it one time where it wasn't making a nice even layer anymore, and I figured that was a problem. So I switched out the nozzles, fixed that right away. And then my next issue was the extruder, the dreadful clicking. The extruder wheel that feeds the plastic in, when it has like a clog or it's too close to the bed or it's not grabbing properly, it'll actually click. And like it jumps it backwards, and why that's doing that is for numerous reasons, and that's what the dreaded thing was. I had to go through a giant trial and error trying to figure it out.
Yep.
And once I upgraded the part, it fixed it dramatically. I still was having the issue here and there, but it was because then I found out the Bowden tube was an issue. The plastic tube that goes from the extruder down to the hot end, it started to melt inside the hot end and cause it to create clogs on itself.
Yeah.
So then I had to get a new tube. So then I got a new tube, and then it still wasn't quite working properly. So then I had to figure out what that was, and all it was the nozzle again was clogged. So then I changed the nozzle.
Let me grab you there, James, because I got the same tube. I actually talked about this in the last talk show, and that is the Capricorn Bowden tube. It's renowned, and I think one thing about it, why the tube is an upgrade, is because one, it has a higher resistance to heat. It can get like 300 plus Celsius. So less likely to melt inside of your hot end. But then additionally, I guess because it has, it's even tighter around the filament, it has less wobble inside, so you get less negative friction.
Drag.
Yeah. So one issue that today, I was working on the printer, and I realized that when I took the Bowden tube out of the hot end assembly, there was melted plastic inside the tube, and usually that you're supposed to go through the cooling block and then get to the hot end, right?
Yeah.
And so like the Bowden tube is supposed to be living in the cooling block and pushing the extruder, pushing that filament down into the hot end. And I think because it's getting hot or getting melted inside of the Bowden tube, that I have it too far down into the hot end assembly.
That is a possibility.
Do you think that when you got your Capricorn tube, you still pushed it all the way down into where it hits the nozzle and basically stops, or did you pull it a little more out?
I put when I put the new nozzle on, because like I said, I still had that problem.
Yeah.
I left my nozzle originally on because I knew I was just changing the Bowden tube out, so I didn't take my hot end off or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I just pulled out the Bowden tube, put the new one in. I had that clog. I changed out the nozzle. And then I left the Bowden tube where it was.
Like the same way that you did the stock one. You just pushed it as far down as it goes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is not this is with the stock hot end that I'm talking about, because I did get the new Micro Swiss all metal hot end, and that one, it definitely has a smaller hole going down through the cooling block and into the hot end.
So it has like a stopper.
Yeah,
more or less.
Like it's basically there's a lot less room in there, but the like you can't. Yeah, there's like in between the cooling block and the hot end, there is this like tiny little hole that it can go through, and there's a much bigger circumference in the stock one, and I think it has something to do with printing different materials beyond PLA, and I'm starting to wonder if the Micro Swiss really the upgrade is meant for printing other materials outside of PLA. I think the stock one is actually maybe more designed around PLA printing, and might not be my best interest. I reverted back over to because right now here's another weird thing is that I went from black, like I was once I installed the Micro Swiss all metal hot end with the new Bowden tube and with the new extruder that we talked about on last week's episode, I was getting a great initial stream, I was getting a nice straight line of filament coming through when I was doing the load filament option on the CR10. But the moment that I wasn't getting good adhesion, I wasn't sticking to the bed well. It seemed like a bed leveling potential issue. After kind of fiddling with it for a while, I just decided maybe I'm going to try this silver filament. I had black filament, I had silver filament. I was like, I'll just try the silver. And the moment I put in the silver, man, that micro Swiss hot end got clogged like a mofo, like instantly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it hit me hard, and it honestly clogged so bad that I couldn't clear the nozzle because of how small the hole is between the cooling block and the hot end, that those pieces are actually stuck together right now. And tomorrow I'm going to be going to get acetone, as I've heard that's the best substance to be able to basically melt all this plastic out of this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at right now. Is I got the stock hot end back on, and another interesting thing is that when we got our nozzle upgrades, we were talking about the difference between steel and copper nozzles, right?
Steel and brass.
Steel and brass. So I guess brass is a better conductor of heat.
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead.
So a steel, it's a more durable. It's a high heat steel. So it's not as soft. So it's going to last longer. You can kind of send it through the trenches. The problem is steel doesn't conduct heat necessarily as well as brass does. So you can have cool points to it, and cool points will lead to clogs. So you might get more clogs with your steel ones, but you can just clean them out and keep going with it. Where brass ones, one thing, let's see if I have my clippers here. I don't think I have them within reach, but with these brass nozzles, plastic builds up right here. And a thing that you kind of like to do is just take the clippers and like grab it and slowly like pull it off of it.
Yep.
And it makes it easy to clean. But because this is hot, brass becomes very weak. So you can actually destroy your nozzle by doing that. And it doesn't even seem like something that would destroy your nozzle. Also, like it hitting the surface of the bed, it could actually like mushroom tip your brass tip because it's hot.
Yeah.
And that causes it to wear quicker. So you might be going through more nozzles with the brass one, but it might be flowing plastic out much smoother.
Yeah, and that's why they say too to like not use pliers on your nozzle when you're removing it, because it's so malleable you could ruin it.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll just keep jumping back and forth between your success and my failure.
Hey, I've had my frustrations though, where I've just been swearing at this damn thing, and being someone who paints and hobbies, like I only have so much time. So if I'm dicking with this thing, I'm not doing something else that's more productive because this thing's supposed to be automated. So it does get very, very frustrating. But when it's running smooth, I feel like I have a robot slave.
Yeah, me too, man. I want it back. I want him back. Mine have ran for the hills, dude. Even if like that's like how I go, like they become like Transformers and take me out later in life, that's fine. Just
dude, when AI comes, they're gonna feel real mad for all these like print farms that have popped up where they're basically just like robot slave sweatshops.
Yep, it's like I remember that feeling that comes over you, like it's been printing for like 2 days and you immediately flip the print and start the next one. Like, get back to work.
It's like before we got on here, I started a 20-hour print. It's like, yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, no rest. I'll be sleeping while you get to work. Exactly. So I need that back in my life. Just to jump back to some of the frustrations, this is part of last week's adventure, but the Micro Swiss all metal hot end, it has this big nasty clog. I'm getting acetone. I have 2 printers here at the studio, and I was able, going between the 2 printers components, I'm able to have one that's close to being where it needs to be. They both have new extruders. One has stock, one has Micro Swiss hot end. I can't even use the stock hot end right now because it's or even the Micro Swiss on one of the machines, because when I was doing the changeover, trying to switch out the hot end itself, the thermistor popped off, or it basically came out not how you want it to be. I got an image right here. Let me show you. So here you're seeing the they call it, I think it's the heating tube. the heating tube and the thermistor, they're attached together, and they live inside the cooling assembly that goes around your hot end. And the heating block for the hot end, this tube, that metal tube, fits inside of it, and right next to it are those two little wires. The problem is, in this picture here, you can see that the wires are separated from one another. They're not supposed to be that way. They are supposed to look like this one. So here you can see on the left, the one that has this, it's like this little glass bubble, and it somehow keeps the cables perfectly separated from one another, but right next to each other. And if that's not intact and your wires break, then your thermistor's in big trouble. So now I have to, here's the picture of the new thermistor in my hand, and the wiring all detached there as I begin. You got to take off like the sleeve that covers the wires, pull the thermistor cable through, and then I guess I'm gonna go through my first soldering job as I chop the cable to the thermistor, because just the ends are what's broken, and attach the new thermistor and hope and pray that it works. The wild thing is whenever they're broken like that, if you touch the two wires together, your control box will just like jump up to like 357 degrees. That, for me anyways, that was the number, but it'll jump to like insane numbers and obviously not fluctuate. So you can't print if your control box doesn't have an accurate reading of what your temperature is. And it technically could print if it was inaccurate, but then you need to know by what difference. Yeah, so that's where I'm at, is I have to replace the thermistor, and I need to get acetone and just take care of all my clog situation, and then pray for the best. James, wow. you might have missed it too, bro. We were talking on one of our episodes. We called it the pointy thing that comes with the CR10S. You know, the little pointy thing.
Oh yeah, the pointy thing.
Yeah, to find more of them, they're acupuncture pins.
No, it's the pointy thing, and
yeah.
mine's all bendy.
Yeah,
I got the bendy pointy thing.
Yeah. I got a set of them, but I had to find them as acupuncture pin needles, or they're also called like acupuncture drills. You can buy them in 0.4 millimeter. So I picked up the more pointy things, and it was tough to figure out how to find them. And on Amazon, they were found under acupuncture needles or some shit. Pretty wild.
This does not look like something I would stick in my skin.
Yeah, when it's brand new, it's a little bit more seeable.
I don't know. This gives me a Harry Potter feeling, though.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I could do magic with this thing.
Well, I guess you kind of are. And I'm jealous.
I'm doing real alchemy over here.
Take a look at this picture, James. This is a shot of the studio. I put now that the Warp Charge Gaming's inside of Battlegrounds, I took one of my tables, and I got them back to back here. I got all my tools strung out across that table. I'm sitting here trying to figure shit out while picking new tunes out for this DJ set this weekend.
Yeah.
So you
got to get to work.
Yeah.
The slaves are driving you today.
Oh, it's sad. It's sad. This is what scares me about the investment. There seems to be several things that go wrong, and you would need lots of information. Dude, it is scary. But I mean, if you're on my end of things, I am not a mechanical person. I just really passionate about how awesome 3D printing is, and damn it if I'm not gonna like figure this out. See, okay, so like I hear you about the investment, but I did this with DJing, music production, DMX lighting. I have a lot. That's my background, is pro audio equipment and lighting engineering, and I learned all that on my own through experience and YouTube and reading. And I know that I couldn't have gotten as far as I did with that craft had I not just dived in. I didn't, take I even, I worked in music retail too, and I've seen a lot of pitfalls where people would handicap themselves with the wrong kind of gear, or they would never give themselves a chance to grow or shine because they would never jump off the cliff and try. So I think it's important to get a good machine, to work with. But yes, you got to be ready. But if you stay steadfast and enjoy the process, like, it's extremely rewarding to overcome the pitfalls. And man, I'm fucking excited to get over these obstacles, James.
Yeah, I mean, there's many people that get an Ender 3, pull it out of the box, put it together within like an hour, never printed before, and then they're good to go, and they don't have like any problems for months. And there's some people that as soon as they take it out of the box, it has broken parts.
Yeah, I got a
And
defective one right out of the box.
so like, yeah, there's definitely pitfalls, but that's like, it's the forefront of the technology right now. It
I,
really is.
I would highly recommend on that note that another pitfall that you can is that you have a return period usually when you just buy something. Going through the manufacturer with this stuff, they're often based out of China and overseas, and it's a bitch to go through the manufacturer process. And most people will just say, buy the parts yourself and upgrade it. But like we got our recent machines on Amazon, for instance. There's a quick burn and turn on the return period. They got a nice return policy. If you know that you could be potentially getting a poor quality control machine because of where it's manufactured, just be ready to dive in quickly. You do not want to buy your printer and let it sit in a box for a month and go right past your return policy. When you get that printer, you need to get your ass to work and get it up and running and find out if it's broken right away. Because I've seen people leave their equipment in boxes for way too long and then have tons of regrets on the back end, You would think that's obvious, James, but it's important to bust out your equipment and get to work.
Dude, I've been in a lot of these groups. It's surprising how many people keep these things in boxes for quite a while before like they pull it out, because they just like are wanting to tinker with something, and like they just buy it because they see it's on sale or something.
Yeah, I mean it's even just getting the thing, there is a process to put it together. Now, granted, they're talking about investments and whatnot. What do you think about there is more high end printers that if you know that you just need one printer in your life, there's things like the Prusa, things that have like auto bed leveling and a lot of the luxuries that can overcome some of the situation. Like for instance, tell me more. We didn't talk much about this, James, but direct drive printers versus the Bowden tube or the PTFE style.
Yeah, so I've actually seen a mod that someone's created for the CR10s, or well, just Creality-based printers, where they put a direct drive on top of that like hot end, and it's super interesting, like how that works, because all it is really the extruder is right where the hot end is. So a lot of times the filament is mounted on top of the printer, and it goes downwards into the hot end, well, into the extruder bit that has a motor that's right there, just like the extruder would on the side, but it's just on top of your print head, and then it pushes it down straight through. So there's less space for problems to occur. And that's how the Prusas are, and they are kind of seen as like the best hobby printer you can get. But even then, you're looking at, I think they're $800 when they're a kit. They're like $1,600 to maybe $1,400 now for them to build it for you and be shipped to you. So I mean, it's a lot more expensive compared to a CR10 that's now $400, and then you have the Ender that's $200. I mean, it's really hard to be like, yeah, I'm gonna get this one just because I'm too lazy to put it together and watch a couple of YouTube videos.
Yeah, and I mean, putting it together is one thing. That's not like that's that the hard, but the troubleshooting aspect, to have the luxuries of kind of it doing a lot of the the bed leveling in itself it can be frustrating enough for some people not to ever print. Like the frustration you had yourself with your different shimmies and flipping the thing over. Like sometimes you get warped glass right out of the box and you got to go get a mirror. If you're not ready to have a strong constitution with troubleshooting, then maybe making a higher end investment can be the right decision.
Well, that actually reminds me of like when I first bought this printer. I looked at so many different brands, and I really fell on Creality because of their Facebook groups. To be honest, they had way more people in those groups, and then like you go watch any YouTube video, it doesn't matter what channel it is, they always had a Creality type printer on their channel.
Yeah.
And when I was looking at the different Crealities, the Ender 3 just came out, and I heard like it was a kit and it had these problems, and I was scared of having all those problems. So the CR10S has better features than the CR10 because it has the shut off resume, like you lose power, you can resume your print. Yeah. It has the filament guide. It has all these little extras that make it more convenient for the first time user. And the way their kit is, it's just two pieces. Like you put the frames already put together, it's just two parts. You just tighten the bolts, line it up, and then you're plugging in your power box, and that was it. and compared to like messing with things, making sure everything else was like this screw goes here, that screw goes there. Like I didn't want to deal with any of that because it was my first time.
Right.
So I felt like this is a perfect printer for me, and I feel like I made a great choice because yeah, I've had my problems, but it's exciting me to actually get the Ender 3 more because I know it's a kit that I can handle now. So like I'm now seeing as I could have bought 2 Ender 3s for the price I bought this, but now I have one with a little bit bigger build plate and now more experience to get the smaller ones. And honestly, you come up with one design like these billboards, you can sell them for $20-$30 on eBay, Etsy store. You sell like 10 in a week because that's about how many you can print in a week. You just bought yourself another Ender 3.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're looking to like make money at home, and I'm not talking like quit your job type of thing like us nuts. I'm talking about like a supplemental income of like, hey, this will now pay for my hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's a picture of one of those signs that James was just referring to. We got these sweet billboards that James designed. We can totally get you a sign with your gaming club or store on there, whatever you want, really. Just send us email at admin@warpchargegaming.com. We can totally get you a custom logoed sign or a blank one if you just want to paint on a blank. They look great on lots of different gaming systems. We can scale them to the game of your choice.
Jake, the height and width on the Ender is 250 millimeters by 250 millimeters. The CR10S is 300 by 300 by 400. It goes a lot taller, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and the height hasn't been near as much of a necessity as the width. I definitely am happy to have that extra millimeters on the width, though.
Yeah, I kind of wish it was just a little bit bigger like the CR10S4.
Yeah.
Because you can fit a whole foot on there. So, like, you can have square foot tiles with no problem.
Right, right.
And then I know you were talking about the resin printers. See, I'm really intrigued by the resin printers, especially now that they made them cheaper with LCD screens instead of lasers. The lasers give you a better print quality, but, like, the price difference is just dramatic. Like, from the Form 2, that's, like, thousands and thousands of dollars. Compared to like the Photon, which is I think $600.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big difference is like how they print with these resins, but it's just quality. So unless you're printing to like a medical grade, you don't necessarily need the laser. You can get away with the LCD screen for like miniatures and terrain. It's just it's more expensive than plastic, first off. So like you're gonna be paying a lot more. You still have failed prints, so that becomes another issue. Also, when you fail prints with those, if you get it stuck to the bed, like the actual like reservoir that holds your liquid, you can have some serious problems. You might actually have to replace parts. And then also, it's resins, so they have a nasty stink. So you need to have a well-ventilated area. Typically, these print companies that are like Shapeways, they have giant fans for their resin printers so that they get all that stuff out of there because you don't want to breathe that in. I definitely want one, but I do not have the space that I feel comfortable enough like printing and working in at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll see people online often will have a whole shed dedicated to, they'll just print in a shed or a garage, like some sort of space like that. Without
I've seen people do it in grow tents where they, instead of like growing cannabis and having carbon scrubbers that clean the air before it leaves, I've seen people use that for their resin printers. It's quite interesting.
Nah, Jake, I don't think a Walmart fan will cut it, but need something more industrial than that, my friend.
I mean, I've seen people make some pretty neat exhausts that they have enclosures that a lot of printers have. A lot of printers come with enclosures, but they put like a computer fan and like an exhaust tube, and they lead that outside, and then they have their printer next to them, so like it's not bothering them. But that's just a lot of work for me that I'm just not going to do.
Yeah, I feel that. Yo, James, I saw on a Facebook post about somebody had upgraded their drivers. It was like the L8729 drivers, and they were just like really happy with them. What is the drivers on the printer? Is that the wheels? What is that?
I believe they're referring to the stepper motors.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not as versed in all the lingo. as others.
I couldn't figure it out when I did some Google searching. I wanted to know what it was. I just want flawless. I want flawlessness. Even though I talk about more upgrades, but they do. The common warning is that you shouldn't upgrade something unless it actually needs it. Because just like me, where I broke my thermistor trying to change out my hot end, you're very likely to mess something up in the process of upgrading when you're first doing it for the first time, especially.
Yeah, man, I wish I knew what drivers were. I wish I knew what all the lingo was. One of the mods that I'm looking at maybe doing in the future is the fans. So the fans cool down the plastic so that another layer can go on top of it. So the smaller the larger your cooling area is, the better bridges you can create so that you can get like better overhangs. And when you're doing like models or like terrain and features with a lot of detail, you don't necessarily want to have a bunch of supports if they're not necessarily needed. So the better fan you have, the better that you can create these overhangs without supports. And that just saves you a lot of time and still having a high quality print. It's just, I'm very scared, like doing what you're doing as far as like messing with the electronics. This is printing so good right now that it's like, is it really worth me messing with the fans?
No, don't touch anything until the fucking break. Don't even. Yeah, not worth it, bro.
Because you literally can print all the parts and housings, and you just got to install the fans. And I've seen some, like the Bullseye, for instance, is a highly talked about fan upgrade.
The fans seem pretty chill as far as if you don't have to. I mean, it's not that big of a deal to undo the control box if you don't have to, though. And I think if you replace the fans, you got to hook in the electronics. There's bound to be some soldering there or something, right?
Honestly, I haven't even messed with like the cable housing to even know.
Don't touch it. Don't do it.
Yeah, I'm running pretty much stock besides the extruder and the Bowden tube.
Oh, God help me.
I've also wanted to add a camera mount so that I could have like a camera looking at my prints at all times. But the camera mount that I found and would print requires me to take off the leveling springs, and it installs it in those same like bolts. So then you put it back on. And it's like, I'm already so level. I'm too scared to even do that.
Yeah. How, yeah, dude, that was, I struggled my first attempt with the leveling tool, the height thing, whatever you called it, the measuring tool. I couldn't get it to do well for me, actually. It made the nozzle way too high when I first attempted it. So that's just me probably being a Neanderthal and not being able to cook anything well, but I need the hot pocket of 3D printers, dog.
Dude, I understand. And honestly, the Form 2 is a resin printer that's almost like that. Almost. There's really not one like that for FDM printers yet.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's a big day. I'm going to fix that shit.
Prusa is kind of close. But even the Prusas have the same problems. Like when they happen, they happen.
Dude, I printed so much stuff, James. It was so pretty. I'm just gonna put some pictures up just to reminisce about the good times. Ah, look at that stuff. Oh, look at those details. Look at all that Worlds Overrun stuff. Oh, look at this.
You tried kicking it. Chicken bone.
Look at that. Look at that print bed with some lovely things on it.
Dude, that thing looks gorgeous, man. That's such a wonderful print.
I wish that could happen some more. Oh, I think this might have been my first print ever. Oh, wish I could do that some more.
Nah, man, you're a giant failure.
God. Oh, it's painful. Well, yo, I didn't try kicking it. That's like you got to kick it with and also yell Spanish at it, like I Love Lucy, Ricky Ricardo style. That's what I said. Yeah. Or you can Fonzie it. I tried to get a hey, actually, there's another. I have a concern, James, that when I changed my extruder, here's another Neanderthal moment for you. When I went to change my extruder for the first time, I wasn't paying attention that one of the screws that I was tightening extremely tight was actually not attached to the extruder at all. It was attached to the Z-axis, the arm, like the thing itself. And I tightened it so hard that when I adjusted the Z-axis, like caw, 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 and one side went like up a little bit and one side stayed stationary.
Oh no.
So I'm concerned that maybe it's not completely flat anymore when I auto home, and I might need to like figure out how to like give it.
Oh, George, you're telling me more and more things.
It's terrible, dude. I'm like a mechanic that's never worked on a car before.
Oh man, it's so bad.
I'm gonna be an expert, you son of a bitch. It's gonna be amazing.
I have faith in you, dude, because these printers are cheap enough where you're not gonna break it. You're gonna break parts on it, but you're not gonna break it.
Oh, I'm gonna have a Prusa before it's all said and done worth of parts on this bitch, dude.
Oh man,
damn sure I'll know how to fix it though, dude. These episodes are just gonna get richer and richer as we go along. How long have you been working now with 3D printers? 4 months? Has it been 4 months, James? I feel like it's been less. Probably 3.
I've maybe been on the 4-month mark.
Yeah, I might be 2.5, 3 months. Time's been kind of flying and melding together, so it's kind of hard to say. Plus, there've been some out of town trips in between, so time's gone a little longer. But
yeah, I kind of wish I knew how long it's been, but I have no idea.
I could always check the receipt from Amazon. But no, it's only been a few months, and it's only been a few weeks of issues without the appropriate amount of time to really crank in there and stare at it. The thing that sucks about the troubleshooting is the damn waiting for it to heat up. Like once you're like ready to like run a bed leveling G code or you just want to like change filament and watch the filament come through in a clean line, you have to just constantly like sit there and wait. You can't just like constantly be moving. Like if you were working on a car as a mechanic, I can't think of a portion of that besides like waiting for the oil to drain or something that you got to wait to continue to work. It's constantly like tweak, 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 wait for the bitch to heat up, try something. Oh, it didn't work. Tweak, 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 tweak. It's a bitch. Don't touch your printer, James.
Dude, I'm not. I'm loving it right now.
I'm so sad.
Like, it's seriously fantastic. I'm like on the hype wagon of like everyone should own one. Yeah. Like, I understand the mishaps, but it's like, dude, this is easier to get through than most relationships I've been in.
That's respect that. I could say that I could go that way too. I'm definitely not near as frustrated as some relationships I've been in.
Like, it's giving me way more joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like it's one that gives back. But then again, I treat it like a slave, so I don't know.
Shit. This cooks in the kitchen, slave driving, relationships. 3D printing's deep, man. It's real deep.
It's real deep, dude. The future of a revolution that will happen for equal rights for robots too.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close to the hour, man. I hope you guys can appreciate our humble approach to documenting the process, pulling back the curtain and showing you the experiences. Obviously, there's the good and the bad and the ups and the downs, but I hope and expect that our content for this Tabletop Alchemy 3D Printing Talk Show is only going to become richer and more informative as we go along the process, and we're happy to share what we learn along the way. I think we said thank you, Jake. We appreciated having you watching, Jake. Good to see you in the virtual world here. Glad you enjoyed the episode. We'll be back on Thursday with our 40K talk show, and we're going to be going crazy talking about Warp Charge shenanigans. Yep, lots of good stuff happened this past week. So join us there and be a part of the process. Did we just get a hookup? See some green. Thank you, Chicken Bone.
Chicken Bone.
Thank you, Chicken Bone. We need every bit we can get at this point. I am, because I'm spending it like crazy. I'm going to go buy some acetone on you, buddy. Thank you so much. But yeah, this is this week. We got more to come. We'll see you next Monday for Tabletop Alchemy. See you Thursday for that. We got gaming coming a lot. So tune in to Twitch if you want to see us on live and see us on the back end on YouTube.
Lots of Twitch coming up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we appreciate it, everybody. Keep taking fun seriously, and we'll see you here soon.
Peace out.
Later. Thanks, Chicken.